Hello Revolve, my name is Kaaviya and today we are going to get ready together. I'm going to show you guys my 10-minute makeup look and share 10 of my best beauty tips. I'm currently getting ready for a full day of errands, so I'm going to be doing my signature natural 10-minute makeup look. I need it to feel really natural, glowy, and lived in, so let's get into it. We are going to go ahead and jump in with skin prep. Everyone knows that skin prep is probably the most important part of any makeup look. This is my favorite primer. It's the Embryolisse Lait Creme Concentrate. It does a really great job of just sort of plumping my skin, filling in my fine lines, and just keeping everything looking nice and refreshed. My pro tip is I really like to focus on my under eyes. That gives you a very refreshed look when there's a little bit of shine and moisture in that area. Next, I'm going to spray this Caudalie Beauty Elixir. Little refresh. And I'm gonna let that dry down. I personally like my makeup to look kind of like drenched, like I just got out of a pool or something. So in order to keep the moisture in my skin, I find that spraying in between steps is really helpful. Okay, now it's time to move on to my base. You wanna have a couple of different shades, especially if you are a melanin girl like me, okay? I find that my forehead is a little bit darker than my cheeks. Also, obviously in the summertime, you're gonna have a little bit of a tan. In the winter, you might be a little bit on the lighter side. I actually use a couple of different foundations on my face for any makeup look. So this foundation stick from Tilbury is one of my absolute favorites because I find that it's almost an exact match for my skin. If your color match isn't good, it makes it look a little less natural and a little bit more like makeup. My next tip is I love blending out my foundation with my fingers. That helps everything melt in very buttery smooth. This really glides on my skin and it is buildable. It's giving me coverage on top of pimples or imperfections that I might have right now. But it also has a really radiant skin-like finish, which is always what I'm going for. I use the shade 10, which is a tan medium shade, and it is honestly the perfect shade for my cheeks and the lower parts of my face. Now, my next tip for having a very natural looking face is I like to avoid underneath my eyes and my nose when I'm doing my makeup. If I can help it, I will also kind of skip my forehead, but I do have a little bit of hyperpigmentation on my forehead right now. I'm going to be using my favorite foundation from Mcgrath. This is the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Foundation. I use the shade Medium 20. This one is also really nice and sheer. And again, I'm just sort of taking it with my finger and spot treating my forehead where I might have a little bit of a dark spot or any hyperpigmentation. In order to smooth this out, I am gonna go in with my iconic London brush and just sort of even it out because I kind of just put foundation on 3 splotches of my forehead, and that is just gonna flatten and evenly apply the foundation to the rest of my forehead. Okay, the base looks really nice and luminous. My pro tip is I like to set my makeup in between each layer. This is gonna help my makeup still look very natural and glowy, and it's also gonna keep it on all day, especially on a day like today where I have so many things to do and so many errands to run. I'm gonna take my Tilbury setting spray. Just a really thin layer. This makeup looks super luminous, like I just have naturally very pretty skin. Even if I do have a couple of breakouts or dark spots, glow just really makes me feel and look put together and creates a very pretty makeup look in my opinion. Now we're gonna do my go-to blush look. You guys, I am putting you on some serious game right now. I talk about this all the time, but I call this my blush cocktail. And today I'm gonna show you one of my favorite ones of all time. Today I'm taking Benefit's Floratint. Just gonna create a little pool of blush. Take as much or as little as you want. If you want a brighter color, obviously use more of the actual pigment. Then I'm gonna grab my Kosas Dreambeam glow drops, create a little pool of that right next door. And if you're really feeling crazy, you can add an additional glowy product. I will be doing so. This is the iconic London Roll Away Glow. So the back of my hand looks like that. Now you want to take a blush brush and just swirl all of that together. And as you can see, I didn't put a ton of blush on, so this is going to be a sheer pink color. But if you want a brighter pink, obviously put more blush in the mix. For my bone structure, I like to apply my blush not on the apples of my cheek, but on a higher point, just to sort of catch the light right here in a C shape. So in a stippling motion, I'm just applying it all the way into my brow bone. I think it looks really good with a little bit of color right there as well. Okay, same thing on the other side. I'm not kidding you guys, I get stopped all the time. People will ask me how I get my makeup to look super, super glowy and dewy, and I'm telling you, I think the blush cocktail is the hack. I always see a lot of people mixing the glow into their foundation or into their primer. I think doing it at a high point of your face like this and mixing it in with your blush just makes it look very natural. And it's also a little bit more controlled because it's not like my whole face is glowy. It's really just the parts of my face that would naturally be reflecting sunlight anyway. You cannot tell me that does not look, that's blinding. Can you guess the next step? We're gonna set in between this layer. Okay, it's time for my favorite step, which is the lip combo. I'm gonna take my Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Raisin today. My key with lip liner is it needs to look more like a shadow than a stark, harsh line. I think the rule of thumb with glowy, natural looking makeup is you really don't want any sharp lines. I will just sort of blend everything out with my finger to make it look more like a diffused shadow, especially if you're like me and you're always overlining a little bit. Blending it out to make it look more like a shadow than a stark line is what's gonna make it look natural and not like, you know, you just drew a second lip line. But what I do is I'll just diffuse my lip liner out with my finger. That makes it look more like a shadow, less like a stark line. I have been obsessed with this lip oil recently. This is the Summer Fridays Dream Lip Oil in the shade Rosewood Nights. It's honestly perfect for my skin tone. I don't like anything that feels really sticky. I want it to be buttery and just like feel nourishing on my lips. But I also love a little bit of a sparkle. I'm so inspired by like 90s makeup. I think the frosty lip needs to make a comeback. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury Big Lip Plumpgasm in the shade Nudegasm Diamonds. And this stuff, y'all, feels so good on your lips. Like if you like a nice little tingling sensation, you need her. I'm gonna put this just right in the center, and that's also gonna give me more of a plump, which I love. And if you put any sort of like highlight or lighter shade in the center of your lips, it's also gonna create an illusion of bigger, juicier lips. I can already feel this tingling. I'm gonna do one final layer of my setting spray. Now that this setting spray has dried down, I'm gonna show you my final touches. The last steps of the makeup routine are very subtle, but super important. As you can see, we're nice and luminous, right? It's really cute. However, I still want a little bit more of a controlled glow. I like the shine at the cheekbone. I like a little bit of shine on the forehead. Shine in the smile lines, I'm not a huge fan of. And also my whole forehead doesn't need to be shiny. So what I'm gonna do is grab my Tower 28 Get Set powder on just a tiny little stippling brush. I'm not a huge fan of baking, so what I'll do is just sort of pack that into any areas that I don't want to be super shiny. This is gonna help give us a more controlled glow. And I think mattifying certain parts of your face makes you look less greasy and more highlighted, because there is a fine line, trust me. I'm gonna do a little bit under the eyes. There's no makeup here, but sometimes my foundation will start to like crease in these areas. Any areas where you're a little shiny or where you're prone to your makeup creasing, you can go ahead and just add a little bit of setting powder, nothing too crazy. I'm also gonna put some on my eyelids. I tend to get like a lot of oiliness in those areas. I feel like these subtle touches make a huge difference. Like it takes 10 seconds, but if I skip this step, I kind of just look a little bit too shiny and highlighted, versus now it looks a lot more like a really beautiful, breezy, natural makeup look. If you want to take it one step further and enhance that natural look, you can add some fake freckles. I know summer is over, but I think it looks really cute. Fun fact, I used to be really scared of fake freckles. I just thought that they weren't really made for me or wouldn't look good on me. But honestly, they look really good on deep skin tones too. So don't be afraid to try out new makeup trends. I think that's my biggest tip, is really just try everything out. Like if you love a natural makeup look, do a natural makeup look, but you can always find new little trends and new little ways to incorporate something fun into your makeup routine. Set the freckles with a little bit of that leftover Tower 28 powder. And that's honestly it. It's super simple, very natural. If I could give you the biggest beauty tip of all time, experiment with it and have fun with it. There are so many trends, they're changing every single day, but I think if you're using the right products and if you really start to understand your face and the type of makeup that you feel beautiful and natural and comfortable in, your looks are gonna slay every single time. I personally love this natural, glowy, kind of clean makeup look, but I'm always scrolling on the Revolve Beauty website looking for new products that I can add to my routines. But those are my 10 beauty tips in 10 minutes. I hope that you guys enjoyed this look. I think she came out very cute. Also, can we just talk about how cute this little pajama set is? I found this on Revolve, but something about getting ready in a really nice little silky set like this makes me feel put together and helps me romanticize my entire getting ready routine. I hope that these beauty tips help you the next time that you feel rushed, but you still want to look very polished and put together. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Revolve's page for all of the tea, all of the best makeup tutorials. I feel like I find so many of my beauty secrets on this channel. So make sure that you guys do that, and I will see you next time.